Welcome to my quick and dirty overview and tutorial about how to use the program I made, which is CS2EXCEL, which is made to update, manage, create, and edit, not in that order, of course, spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets, given your or someone else's Counter-Strike 2 inventory and the prices of the items in that inventory. So I'll just open the program. This is everything as of now. It leaves a lot to be desired with like the GUI, but it does the job. So I'll talk about everything very quickly. I will write the inventory of this guy. It's called Heinz. I heard he's done some very questionable stuff in the streets of Germany. There's a reason he could afford the skins that he has, but that is not of my problem. Everything I need to write his inventory to an Excel spreadsheet is his Steam ID, which I got from, you can either use like an external site and paste his whole thing here if someone has a custom URL, but I was able to get his Steam ID, so I just pasted into here. Just to also talk about this part, this is if you want, this is a checkbox if you want to fetch from Steam, which I obviously want to do because the spreadsheet that I want to write to doesn't have any information in it. I want to get items from Steam. I also want to write the prices. I want to fetch the prices, and you see a lot of things get taken away because they're not necessary if I don't want to fetch the prices, but I do, so I'll keep that there. Then we have group similar items. This is basically if he has two of the same item in his inventory with the same name and the same, not the same float, but the same like float range, like field tested. Instead of having two separate instances of that item in the spreadsheet, it gets grouped into one singular row. And it has the, you can see here, the quality specifier instead. If you don't have this checked, you have to have a column for the asset ID of the items, because the asset ID is what Steam uses to specify every item from every other item. That's basically it, quick and dirty about this. And I also want to have this ticked off, ignore already sold. That is basically if you have a column where you write the price of the item that you have sold, then the program doesn't have to update, or it ignores that item from the row, because it will get annoying if it would update the price. Let's say you bought EG holos at $2 and they went up to 50. And you sold them at 50, you don't want to be remembered that, okay, they went up to 125 now. Okay, I don't want to see that in my Excel spreadsheet. Let me just keep that at like frozen at those $50 and let that be. That is basically what ignore already sold does. But back to this Steam ID paste, Steam login secure. This is if it is your specific inventory, or if you somehow got someone else's Steam login secure. I don't know why. Don't be that cheeky, please. That would get the most up-to-date information about that inventory, because without the Steam login secure, you can't see, for example, items that are on trade hold. Also, if you have Firefox and is on Windows and you're logged in to Steam on Firefox, then you don't have to put this here. It fetches the Steam login secure automatically, which is pretty neat. For example, for me to update my own spreadsheet, personal spreadsheet, that's beautiful. I will showcase the spreadsheet I want to write to. This is a spreadsheet. As you can see here, it's already filled in with data. This is like a preview of what it looks like. I will delete this. Let me do this and boom, I'll delete this for now. So I'll just have this instead, an empty spreadsheet. So back to here, this is to specify the name of the sheet that I want to write to, which is sheet 1 in my instance. Sheet 1. This is which row I want the program to start writing to, which is 1, because I don't want to overwrite the headers of the spreadsheet, and I want the program to start writing here, and for each item in the inventory I just wanted to write every single item until it's the whole inventory saturated. Then we have a stop writing table. This is if you for some reason only want to update a slice of the spreadsheet, for example 23 to 30, you would write 23 here and 30 here, and it would only iterate through that specific part of the spreadsheet. Then you have ignore items by full name. That is if you, for example, in Heinz's case, he has this AK jet set, which he definitely stole. That's real and true. Or he stole someone IRL, like money-wise, to be able to afford this AK. Look at him, he's behind bars for a reason. This is, of course, it's slightly more expensive than a regular jet set, maybe like $10-20. So you don't want that to, like the base price of the jet set, to be written to the Excel spreadsheet. It would, in this case, it would be written here. You would want that to be ignored. So you would copy the name that gets written here. You would copy that into here, and the program will automatically ignore updating the price, which is very nice, of course. And then here you have the preferred markets. These are all the markets: UPIN, CS Flow, CS Money, Buffalo 63, Steam, Skinport, and Bitskins. These are the markets that you want to fetch the prices from. I want to price from CS Float and Buff 163. I want to get prices from just these markets, and I want to use the hierarchical mode. you see you have these modes: cheapest, hierarchical, most expensive, and random. Hierarchical is basically if CS float is, in my case, 5% cheaper than UPIN, you choose CS float. And if buff 163 is 5% cheaper than CS float, I choose buff 163. That's what the hierarchical mode does. Now we go to the more direct stuff. We have directly interacting with the spreadsheet. I'll just fill these in because the examples I have given here in the grayed out areas, these are the exact same in my spreadsheet. I'll just write these already. Here, this is the column for the full name, which is the full name of the item, which is, for example, the jet set, that would be AK-47 jet set minimal wear. That would be the full name, and this is used to find the price of that item. That's why this column is mandatory. And then you have these three. These are basically metadata for that skin. This would be the gun sticker case in the AK jet set. This would be like example, this would be AK, and then jet set, and then field minimal wear. That's how this would go. And wear also works for stickers and like capsules with old name terminology like hollow foil. That also gets written here. And then we have these three. These are very special because to be able to write these, you have to select an item info provider because Steam doesn't natively keep track of float, pattern, and phase in your inventory. You have to use a third-party extension, or you have to find a whack way to call Steam servers using their custom protocol, which is way beyond my scope. So instead, we use an item info provider, which is CS Float in my case. CS Float has an amazing API, but we have to respect their rules, which is on max 1 request per second. So that slows down the program a bit. You don't have to have this, but this is necessary. For example, if you want the correct price for gem knives, because gem knives, it's a different price for phase 4 than phase 2, and for emeralds and rubies, for example. They all have different prices, and you need this extra item info to be able to get the correct price. So if you have these types of items and you want the accurate price, you need to have an item info provider. Then you get the ability to specify where you want to write the float, the pattern, and the phase. And this is nice to have as well. More info, just better. And here you also have down at the bottom, you have the cell for USD to X. So this is if you have the conversion rate from USD to some other currency written directly into the Excel spreadsheet. Then you write the coordinate of that cell and the program uses that coordinate. But if you don't write that and just keep this as is, this uses this little selection box instead. It converts USD to, and then none, baseline is USD. So you can specify, for example, I want to do the Japanese yen. I want to do the Norwegian crown, Australian dollar, Swedish crown, but I'll keep this as none to just keep every price as USD. And this gets fetched automatically. This is another third-party API used to get the conversion rate. So I'll just keep this as is. And also what is probably pretty important too is getting the actual path to the Excel spreadsheet, which I want to edit and update, and this Excel spreadsheet. So now this is also loaded into the program, and I don't want to write all of this again. This is a lot of writing, and I can cause human error in the future if I write this multiple times. So instead, I would like to save this preset. I'll go here and save this as ketchup.json. I just overwrite the save. Boom. Now have that saved. So everything should be fine. What I want to do now, or I have to do now, is I have to close this and, well, start the program. Boom. And now it's starting to iterate. It's using this pause time to get every single item from his inventory and writing it to the spreadsheet. And in the meantime, while the program runs, please check out the CS2 Trader extension. All of your favorite content creators use this. Your mama, if she likes skins, she uses this. Your daddy too uses this. It's an amazing extension. It gets all the extra item info from your inventory. It showcases patterns, floats, and if it's a number 1, number 2, number 3 float in the world. Amazing extension and very useful if you trade even 2 skins a year. Great extension. Then you also have their repo. Please star their repo. It's an amazing project. There's way too little stars. And also, if you have so much love in your heart, please also star my repo. I spend a lot of time on this, and it's all love for the community. So we can now see program finished successfully. Beautiful. Now let's see what got written. Boom. Even the date, correct date. And everything got filled in. Amazing. And I can also showcase, we can see now that everything is correct. I can also showcase running the program again. Let's see how much time it takes. Boom. It goes instant because it doesn't have to do extra fetches, and because prices also get cached. So the API that I use is from CS2 Trader. The API doesn't get pounded because there's no reason to disrespect their beautiful project and no reason to fetch prices each and every single time. Because, for example, if you manage a lot of inventories, just fetching each and every time is unnecessary. So the prices get cached for a specific amount of time. So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you so much for wanting to use the program, and I hope you found use in the program. Have a great one.